We've got new details on the Chris Jones contract saga, plus injury reports and updates coming from Chiefs training camp up in St. Joe on today's KCS and Update presented by DraftKings.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome into today's episode of KCS and Update presented by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. I am Tucker Franklin. As always, I am very stoked to get you caught up on everything you need to know from KC Chiefs training camp and everything going on beyond with your Kansas City Chiefs. First, I want to start on the training camp side of things. No video yesterday, but they did have practice. It was an indoor practice closed to the public, a season ticket member day only, and they moved it inside because of inclement weather up there in St. Joe. Didn't get to see a whole lot from that, so we didn't have a video yesterday, but today, going to get you caught up on the injury report from that day. Nothing new out of that injury report. The usual suspects, Jody Fordson, missing with time with that shoulder injury, L'Jarius Sneed missing time with that knee injury, and obviously Kadarius Toney not practicing quite yet with that knee and that meniscus cleanup that he has going on. But I would expect to hear a little bit of some injury designations for the game from Andy Reid on Friday, as they are set to practice again. It was an off day on Thursday up at Chiefs training camp, but they've got one more practice before they hit the road to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints in the first preseason game of the season coming up at noon on Sunday. Very excited for that. We'll have you covered with a game preview as well on the KC Lab coming up tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. 8 p.m. Arrowhead time. You can catch that live video or that podcast tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 6 a.m. Wherever you catch your podcast, you can listen to that there or watch us live here on the KCSN YouTube channel. The KC Lab guys will be going live to break down what they want to see in that first preseason game. But let's get into the biggest new developments and the biggest new details in the Chris Jones contract negotiation. I don't know if it's a little earth-shattering or anything like that. Just a couple new details coming out from Nate Taylor's recent article on The Athletic. Now, it's no surprise that Chris Jones has been asking for around $30 million a year when it comes to his contract coming up for the Kansas City Chiefs. The negotiations that have been ongoing and the holdout that he is currently on, he's been racking up fines, $50,000 every single day he doesn't show up. So he's been having quite a lot of fines stacking up for him. I believe Monday is that $1 million when it comes to fines accumulated. I wish I could be in that financial position to be okay with brushing off $1 million like Chris Jones is, but nevertheless, he's standing pretty strong in the line that he has drawn in the sand. Seems like both sides have kind of been pretty, they're at a stalemate right now, which you don't really want to see that with your star defensive tackle. We've heard reports, and Nate Taylor even reported this, I believe it was before the before the training camp, I should say, that Chris Jones was wanting about $30 million per year. That would put him as the second highest paid defensive end, just about $1.6 million behind Aaron Donald. Very interesting position group when you talk about APY. There's about $7.6 million separating Aaron Donald's top contract and Quinn Williams' number 2 contract. So there's a lot of wiggle room right there between number 1 and number 2. And really, when Quinn Williams signed his deal, I thought it was a number that Chris Jones and company could really get underneath, and they can get above that $24 million mark that Quinn Williams did sign back earlier in the offseason. Nevertheless, they're still holding things out. Now, this report coming from Nate Taylor in his article, he reports that the Kansas City Chiefs are unwilling to make him the highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL. Not a surprise there because of the money in the APY for sure, but Chris Jones isn't necessarily asking to become the highest paid defensive lineman in the league. So very interesting situation developing all there. Not a lot of new details coming up, but that is a new one that was reported by Nate Taylor, that the Chiefs were unwilling to make him the highest paid defensive lineman in the league. Not a shock, because Chris Jones wasn't necessarily asking to become reportedly wasn't necessarily asking to become the highest paid defensive lineman in the league. Just was eyeing that $30 million mark, which would put him about $1.6 million behind what Aaron Donald is making currently with the Los Angeles Rams. So let me know in the comment section below what you think about this whole contract situation, contract saga going on. There's been a lot in the news about Chris Jones and his contract going on in this holdout, as I mentioned, coming up on $1 million in terms of fines accrued. But a very interesting situation as it goes on. And what's really good is I talked to Brett Coleman. You guys know Brett Coleman if you are familiar here with the YouTube space of his YouTube channel and the film rooms and the Bootleg Football podcast, also doing some work with the Los Angeles Chargers in the NFL. He joined me on today's KCSN Update podcast to talk about what was going on with this Chris Jones situation, this Chris Jones saga. I got his thoughts on everything that's transpiring. Here's a little sneak peek of that conversation. But first, general thoughts. I want to get just some high-arching, some high-level thoughts about the whole Chris Jones situation. Then we kind of divulge into it a little bit more.
I think, he's in the financial position where he doesn't necessarily care about $1 million, which sounds insane to me. Right. Like, how can you not care about $1 million? Because I think in his head, he's like, well, I'm about to make 100, so I could just get that $1 million back on the back end of the deal. But at the same time, there's a problem here because, and you and I were talking right before this show, like the gap between number 1 and number 2 in the defensive tackle market, even all these guys that just got massive extensions, like, Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, all these guys are at the very top of the defensive tackle ecosystem. They're still significantly behind Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald might be the greatest, not just interior defensive lineman, but defensive lineman, period, to have ever played the sport. So yeah, he's going to be the highest paid, but at the same time, Chris Jones, 2-time Super Bowl winner, future Hall of Famer in his own right, lock for Chiefs Ring of Honor, is probably like 1 or 2 good years away from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. So he's like, what am I, chopped liver? Like, you can't get me close to the other Hall of Fame defensive tackle in the league right now. So I'm sure he wants 30+ million. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be willing to do that, but he definitely doesn't want to be paid in the same realm as the young guns that in his mind probably haven't proven as much as he has. So I would imagine they're going to end up somewhere around like 27, 28 maybe.
Yeah.
But who knows when that's actually going to happen, right? Because Jones has the financial ability to hold out. The Chiefs hold all the cards themselves. Like, they're not going to pay 30+ million if they don't absolutely have to. So like, I don't know when this is going to resolve itself. Could it bleed into the regular season? Maybe, but it's kind of a standoff of the most frustrating caliber because neither side really has to budge.
If you want to listen to the whole podcast I have with Brett Coleman, you can find that on the KCSN audio channels. Just search KC Sports Network. It'll come up on the KCSN Chiefs. It's today's KCSN Update with Brett Coleman. We talk about Chris Jones. We talk about the receiver room and the defense as well. We kind of cover all things Chiefs. So if you want to hear Brett's thoughts on that, go check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you watching and listening all the way till the very end of this video. If you've been tuned in to the end of this video, drop that lock in the comment section so I know that you guys are locked in here, and hit that like and subscribe button so you become a first teamer here for KCSN. Love to become a first teamer, especially this time of the year as we get into the preseason. Want to be on that first team spot. But really appreciate you watching all the way to the end of the video. I'll be back tomorrow with another video as we get ready for the Kansas City Chiefs' first preseason game of the season against the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. We'll have a post-game show after that as well. So make sure you are stay tuned and you are subscribed at KC Sports Network and get that bell on so you don't miss a single one of our videos. As I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow. So until then, I'll talk to you guys later.